a little chat bubble. If you click on it, you should have a chat box that opens up. If any of you could just put a yes in the chat box real quick, just so we know you're there. I want to get a lot of Q&A from Michael here on this presentation. So with that being said, Michael and his wife, Laura, are the co-founders of the Wonderist Agency. They've been marketing for dentists since 2011. Husband and wife team with 35 team members here in the San Diego office. Michael and I I've known about Michael. I don't think he's known about me, but I've heard really good things, and it was suggested that I bring him on the call today. And super, super excited that he has some insight on virtual dentistry, as well as a platform that he uses to disseminate virtual dentistry. So without further ado, and Michael, I don't know if your lovely wife's going to join us on this call or not, but if she's there and we want to open up her mic, please let me know and I'll find her. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to you and you can take it away.
Yeah, I'll start off by apologizing to everyone. You're stuck with me. My wife is both better looking and certainly much more entertaining and more informational to listen to. So you're stuck with the B team today, but she's on her maternity leave. It's been a different maternity leave for us. And, in many ways, and one of the things we're going to talk about today is, how we can find the opportunities and find to be grateful for in a moment where there's challenge. And for us, being at home more with a now 3-month-old has been an awesome gift. So, thanks for the intro. Again, my name is Michael Anderson. I'm one of the co-founders at Wonderist Agency. Been working with dentists since 2011 to do their marketing. So we're a full service marketing agency. Just briefly, I think what we hang our hat on, there's a lot of marketing agencies out there. We focus more on authentic design. We feel that you need to have something that makes you different. That means that you need to celebrate your practice, your office, your team through photography, through video. And we've been doing that since 2011. What we do is we do everything from websites, social media, Google ads, SEO, all the way to local marketing. So we're not going to talk about the marketing side as much today, but that is kind of our background. That's our origin. And for the last 2 years, we've been working on virtual consults. And I wish I could take credit for waking up and having this wonderful idea, but we get a chance to work with a lot of dentists around the country. We work with almost 300 dentists. And this is something that we started having people in different ways ask us about and say, how could I do this? How could I let someone reach out to me in a more dynamic way? And so 2 years ago, we got to work on it, and we've learned a lot. So my goal today is to kind of, just do an introduction to virtual consults for those of you that maybe this is newer to, and to talk about different ways to do virtual consults. So let's progress here. I do have some slides I should be using that will help us get through this all. So what we're going to talk about is what virtual consults are. We're going to talk about how to do virtual consults, right? You need to have a workflow. Even though I know all of you do need an e-consults, we need to make sure that we have a different workflow for virtual consults. We also need to talk about how to promote them, right? If you get super jazzed up on, virtual consults today and say, that's something I'm going to do. And let's say that, we're all on Zoom and you say, I'm going to use Zoom to do that. How are you going to let people know? You got to find a way to communicate that to people. And then we also want to talk about regulations and insurance coverage, because I know there's a lot of new questions about whether or not you can bill, how you can bill, what kind of regulations there are. So, okay, so let's just kind of take a big step back and sort of, anchor ourselves. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone right now, as we're all sitting at home, that, COVID-19 has changed the world we live in. And I firmly believe it will probably have a lasting change on our society. So I want to just briefly kind of start by looking at what the challenges are. COVID-19 has certainly challenged what dentists have understood about sort of infectious disease control in their offices. And obviously many offices are shut down right now because of those challenges. And, whether it's aerosol, whether it's PPE, whether it's other parts of the process, dentistry is trying to grapple with how they can adjust to make sure that it's safe to see patients and have people come back in. So there's a significant challenge to dentistry currently. And I know a lot of our dentists that we work with are adjusting both their messaging, their education resources, and the way that they interact with patients. And so we're gonna hopefully talk a little bit about how we can do that. So one of the big things that Laura and I have been talking as we've been sitting at home is that we're kind of all sharing a cultural timeout. And it's a metaphor that I really have been, I've really been using in my mind as I think about what's going on. you almost kind of go back to being 7 years old. You know, something happens, you go to your room, you sit there, and you know, like it or not, you start to think about what got you there and what you're going to do differently. And so I really see this as a significant opportunity for us individually. You know, my wife and I have been talking about things we're going to do different, habits, goals, relationships we're going to change and are changing. But if we don't take that same mindset and apply it back to our businesses and say, you know, our businesses need to be different on the other side of this, we're going to grow, we're going to use this time to grow, then I think we've missed an opportunity. So I know that's kind of the mantra that my wife and I have had, and I'd like to invite all of you to start the conversation we're going to have today to join us in the goal of evolving your practice to be stronger and to thrive in future challenges. Okay. So why should we even talk about virtual consults right now? And there's kind of 3 big reasons that I want to start out with. The first one, which I think is the most obvious one to a lot of dentists today, is that we need to find a good way to triage emergency cases, right? We need to find a way to talk to people safely. We need to make sure we understand what their needs are, and we need to find a way to prescribe the best next step. So during this moment of social distancing and office closure, virtual consults are a great tool to help do that. It's gonna, you know, it's gonna really put you on a pedestal. I know a lot of you, you know, are investing in CEREC mills, you're investing in Soleo lasers, you got this great technology that you put into your offices, and it's something you're proud of, and it's an asset. This is like that. It's something you can say, listen, we've gone the extra mile for you. We have state-of-the-art technology to help communicate even in difficult moments. I think it's safe to say it also provides relief. For those of you that maybe joined closer to our start time, you know, in the last, I think, week and a half to 2 weeks, we've had 1,000 people that have 1,000 patients that have submitted virtual request forms and requests through the platform that we've built. And so patients want to use this, provide that relief, and then there is an opportunity to continue billing. This is not going to solve the lower revenue that you're all facing, but it's something that you can adapt to and you can still bill on. I love this. I think that anytime we have a crisis moment, this is when leaders are born. This is when people have an opportunity to step forward. Everybody is hungry to find someone to listen to. Be an industry leader, be a community leader. This is such a good way for you to help evolve your brand. Communicating with your patients and with your community is key. This is a great portal to do that. So using virtual consults to stay in good communication, I think, is really powerful. One of the things we talk about as an agency all the time is, you know, if you want to grow your agency, or sorry, if you want to grow your practice, if you want to be successful, you need to stand out from the crowd. You need to be different. And when we start with a lot of our clients, we talk about branding. We say, what makes you different? And we hear a lot of the same stuff. Well, I have just a great team. We really practice ethical dentistry, or we've invested in technology. And for me, I always say, well, I want you to draw a 20-mile bubble around your practice. How many other dentists do you think are saying the same thing? And usually the answer is 80% are. And so you need something that's going to help you stand out and be different. And virtual consult is certainly not the only thing, but it is certainly something that is different. I think, again, if you draw that bubble around your practice and you ask yourself that question, maybe only 10 to 20% of those dentists are engaging in virtual dentistry of any kind right now. And that is up significantly from where it was 10 weeks ago. And then last thing here, ABC, not always be closing, although I do love that movie. Always be challenging yourself, or always be changing. That's a big part of our philosophy at Wonderist Agency. And I know a lot of our dentists are lifelong learners. And so it's a great opportunity to challenge yourself to do things differently. And then finally, this is kind of where we were 10 weeks ago. Virtual consults, initially, the way that we rolled them out, the way that we saw them valued when dentists were in their practices, was saying, let's start a conversation with cosmetic leads sooner. People that want to change their smile, want to improve it. They're not ready to come into the office. They're not ready to take off of work. They're scared of being sold dentistry. How do we make that easier for them to raise their hand and say, I'm not happy with my smile and I'd like to know the options? So lower that barrier to entry, right? There's a lot of excuses for people not to start that conversation. Understand, and this is something we'll talk about, that all virtual dentistry does not replace an in-office consult, right? There's no way to do that. I'm not going to convince you of that today. I do think that as technology evolves, we will find ways to get closer and closer to getting the diagnostics you need. But as of today, it's a way to start the conversation. There are limited oral exams. That's a technical term that we're going to talk about later. Limited oral exams that you can do and do effectively, but it's no replacement for x-rays, in-mouth oral exams. And that is still obviously going to be the mainstay of dentistry. And then the last thing, we need to come up with an automated process, right? Wouldn't it be great, especially when you're back in your practice, to have new people raising their hands saying, I'd like to talk about veneers. I'd like to talk about liners. I'd like to talk about changing my smile, and for you to be able to begin that conversation. I think a lot of dentists would say, yes, I would really like to automate that process so I can have those conversations. So what is a virtual consult? I want to talk about some things that are important first. These slides are slides that I presented on before COVID-19. I wanted to leave them in because they're important, but I've kind of created an update at the to understand if they're still relevant. So meet people where they're at. I don't think I've got to convince anyone who's online, logged into Zoom, that we're online more and more, right? People are on social media. They're online all the time. That's where we're connecting with people. That's where we get our information. More so now than ever, right? That if you think about COVID-19, we are all in isolation. Many of us are, and we're depending on social media and the online communities we formed to get information. We're spending more and more time here. So this is a great opportunity for you to understand that and step forward as a leader by doing something different. So recognize that we should meet people where they're at. Make it easy. You are open 9 to 5. Some of you have different hours than that, I understand, but the internet never closes. I think about my life. I run an office with 35 people in it. I, oftentimes work different hours. It might be 8 o'clock before I have an opportunity to think about calling the dentist, and they're not open. And so finding some way to connect with people at those different points when they have questions is going to help you serve your community better, and it's ultimately going to grow your patient base. Now, I know some of you might be saying, well, listen, I'm not 9 to 5 now. I'm totally flexible. I'll talk to people anytime. I would still recommend that you come up with a way to do this in a way that is scalable, right? You want to make sure that you create some good boundaries. Okay, value time. Virtual consults, one of the things I love about them is it helps value everyone's time. It values patients' time. They can start a conversation and get information from you quicker and sooner. So they're not having to, drive into the office, take off of work, all that stuff that sometimes can be difficult for them. It also, at least a couple versions of virtual consults, values your time where you don't have to worry about people coming in, taking up valuable chair time and kicking the tires. You can do some sort of pre-consult work to understand who is really worth your time and also make good use of other people's time. So again, I know I kind of said this before, but even though you've got some more time on your hands now, make sure you have good habits. Don't just make yourself available from 8 in the morning till 12 at night. It's good to find those pockets of time that you're going to commit to virtual consults. Okay, build connections and trust. I think that, we're going to talk about video a lot today as a great way to do virtual consult. Video breaks down barriers, and hopefully we're proving that right now. I think a lot of people have learned how to use video differently over the last couple of weeks, and it is powerful, right? This is so much better what we're doing right now than a phone call. This is so much better than an email. I think that it's a way better way to connect and learn. And I hope that you all take the lessons we're learning while we're, in a more isolated moment and bring it back to your practice. How can you use video in a way to connect with your patients? And so certainly video needs to be a part of your post-COVID-19 plan. And then work harder, not smarter. Another sort of mantra from my life. If you can find ways to automate virtual consult process so you can get a constant drip of patients you're talking to, that's something that's going to help grow your business on the other side of this. There's a bunch of different ways to do virtual consults. What I would recommend, and this is something we're going to hopefully convince you of today, is take the time that you have now and find a system that works for you. It doesn't have to be the system that I put forward to you, but find a system that's going to work for you after this hopefully is done. Because the reality is, we all know that come fall, we might have to see some closures again, or more likely, maybe we'll have to talk with patients differently and say, listen, before you come in, we've got to find a good way to triage you in a healthy way. And so could we start virtually and then bring you into the office? Prepare for that. Even if it doesn't happen, prepare for that now when you have time. And then be compliant, right? So one thing that, a lot of you have probably heard about is that the federal government has lifted HIPAA regulations that normally govern the way we interact with patients. So for example, you can't just email or text a patient and ask healthcare information, PI, right? You can't ask for that. It needs to be done in a HIPAA compliant way. So there's HIPAA compliant email, HIPAA compliant messaging platforms, but you can't just do it on your cell phone, except for right now. Basically, at this point, you can do just about anything you want to communicate with the patient. My advice is, while that is more convenient and it's certainly helping people scramble, take that extra breath, take that extra time, and find a process that will be compliant on the other side. Okay, and then be the future. I love, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now, do you think that virtual consults are going to be more or less a part of dentistry? And if you do think that it's reasonable that people are going to be interacting with dentists more virtually, why not be part of the first group of people that moves into that? Because I promise you, it's to make you a leader in your community. It's going to help you stand out. So, okay. So 2 types of virtual consults that we're going to talk about. There's live virtual consults. That's kind of what we're doing right now, where we've got a live video platform. I can ask a question. If Jonathan wasn't muted, he could respond to my question. I could get up real close to the camera. I promise I'm not gonna go that far here, but you can kind of start to see what's going on in my mouth, and we can interact. There we go, Jonathan. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one embarrassing myself. So there's live consults and there's on-demand consults, synchronous consults, and that's the process platform that we've built out. What that means is that someone can submit information to you at one time and that you can respond asynchronously at another time. And so, it respects your schedule and space a little bit more. There are other types of consults, and I've seen just about every company in dentistry jump forward and say, oh, we have dentistry, we have consults. Most of what I've observed is people are saying we have a messaging platform, right? You can message with the patient, they'll send you an image, you can message back and forth. And those are virtual consults in many ways too. For today, we'll talk about video-focused virtual consults because I think that is the future of how dentistry in this sense will happen. Okay, virtual consults. Let's talk about live consults first. So we discussed it's a live conversation. The pros of this are that you can have a normal conversation. You can follow your normal knee-to-knee protocol for doing a consultation in office. You can lead a patient through a self-exam. Very important that you think about what that self-exam might be ahead of time, so you have a plan. You might need to prep them to have some stuff ready. And then you can use live camera feed to try to examine the affected areas of the smile of their teeth. So, if, for example, they sent you a photo ahead of time, it wasn't correct, the quality's not good, you can guide them through adjusting that, with the live camera feed. What are some of the cons? It demands specific time in your schedule. And I think right now for a lot of dentists, that's less of a problem. But certainly when you think about going back to your office, you should ask yourself, are live consults the best way for me to interact with people? Do I want to risk 30 minutes of my chair time to hope that someone is going to show up, to hope that they're going to figure out the IT things? Before this, Jonathan and I were, kind of monkeying around. The first time I'm doing the webinar, not the meeting, and there's something different. And it's all of a sudden, as a dentist, you have to turn into the IT department. Is that something you want to do? So again, there's a high rate of no-shows and technology issues. Streaming quality can be poor, and that has nothing to do with the platform. It could be someone's Wi-Fi connection. And there's no structure for the consult itself, right? It's depending on you to have figured that out ahead of time. And I know this is maybe a kind of goofy one for a lot of dentists. They say, what are you talking about? I've trained, I've done hundreds, if not thousands of dental consults. I'm fine. We all need to respect that doing a virtual consult is different, and we need to have a process in place for that. So there's a lot of platforms out there. I really should probably have at least 10 other options in here. And in no way am I saying these are the best, but Zoom is an option I like to put forward because it's something we're all using right now. And it does have a HIPAA compliant add-on that you can do. So even after the regulations come back, you can still use Zoom in a HIPAA compliant way. VC is another tool that has evolved to use some cool, you can activate the flashlight on the camera remotely so you can do exams. So it's a cool tool that you can use in a live sense. There's Doxy, there's a bunch of other tools out there that let you do this in a live capacity. Okay, so let's talk about on-demand or asynchronous virtual consults. The pros are it's an efficient use of everyone's time. At 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, I can submit a case as a patient. At 8 in the morning the next day as a dentist, I can review it, I can take my time, and I can go through a process that lets me respond. This is going to capture more patient information. If you think about saying, okay, you know what, live consults are for me, I want to use Zoom. Well, how are you going to get patients onboarded? What do they fill out so you have something to talk about? You would have to create a separate form or have a separate process to get all that information. And with on-demand consults, they are going to fill out a more detailed form that's going to provide a lot of that information ahead of time for you to review. It's going to standardize the process, right? So the on-demand platform, at least the one that we have, walks you through the specific parts of the process. So it's going to be the intake of the patient information, treatment planning, before and after photos, the video response, and the automated follow-up. All of that is packaged up, and it's really streamlined. And then, I think that for a lot of dentists, they're used to looking at photos, they're used to looking at x-rays. Obviously, in-mouth oral exams are the best, but photos tend to have a higher quality to them than video. And so depending on photos, helping people understand how to take good photos often gets better results than, as you saw before, me leaning in and trying to kind of like get close to a video camera. Not always the best. What are the cons? Not having that initial live conversation can be limiting. Sometimes you're just one follow-up question away from getting what you need. And it's like, oh, if I could just ask you that, that would solve everything. And that's a big one. There's also no ability to use video camera to conduct that live exam. Someone might see photos and they just aren't what you need. And you need to say, okay, let's try this again and get in a little bit closer. That's the other thing I'll add to this that I should probably add as a bullet point is, video like we're doing right now, this is powerful. When you can actually have a conversation with someone, that's something that is certainly very powerful too. Okay, so for on-demand consults, and I will selfishly say we're recommending a product that we've built. I want to be very clear about that. But there really are almost no other platforms that we found that are asynchronous in the way that we're going to put it forward today. So I'm just briefly going to talk about sort of how we do virtual consults here. We're going to talk about live consults first. Again, there's a bunch of different platforms. HIPAA compliance has been waived, so you really do anything. It's a free-for-all. You can use Zoom. You can use Facebook Messenger. You can use, I don't know if any of you have these portals, right? You could use Portal. You could use just the normal, FaceTime on your phone. Any of those are live ways that you can communicate. I will say it one more time. I would recommend that you find a tool and a workflow that works for you down the road. Here is my suggested workflow for you if you want to do live consults. You need to have some kind of a home base because you have to promote this somehow. People are not familiar with the idea of virtual consults. So you have to explain what it's going to be, set their expectations. So you need a website or a landing page that sets some parameters around this. You reach out to me, we'll schedule time, fill out this form, we'll have a 30-minute video consult, and I will follow up with a treatment option for you, or whatever that ends up being for you. But you need something to explain that, right? So you need a website or a landing page to describe how the process will work. Don't forget about getting the word out. Once you get all excited and say, I'm going to do this, you've got to find a way to do that. Email and social media are great ways to get the word out. We're going to talk about that more later. You need to find a way to schedule consults. So you could use an online scheduling tool like Local Med if you have that. Just make sure you shut down the other normal things that you have in Local Med that people can select to come up with an appointment type. But if you don't have something like that, I'd recommend using Calendly. It integrates with your Gmail calendar. If you use Gmail, it's such a great way to help people find a time on your schedule while you're not in the office. And then pick some kind of a live platform. We've talked about that already. This is another big one. You need to have some kind of a pre-consult form. Make people fill something out ahead of time so you have some idea of what you're looking at. And why is that important? Because you may need to guide them through an oral exam and have them prepare a couple things to do that. So make sure you have a form with questions that they're able to fill out. And then make sure you've got your set way to communicate with the patient before and after. Are you emailing them, texting them? What are you doing to set up this appointment? Make sure you have that figured out. I would again ask that you come up with a HIPAA compliant way to do that for after, even though you don't need to do it right now. Hold the virtual consult. Here's a basic workflow that I would recommend you adhere to when you're doing the virtual consult. Introduce yourself, ask the patient about their issue, lead a self-guided exam, share your insights, propose a possible treatment plan. If you want to, optionally screen share any relevant casework, and then discuss next steps. So try to hit on all of those things. I think it's amazing how often we forget to do the introduction. Sometimes we forget the next steps. Each one of these pieces is very important. Finally, make sure you set a follow-up reminder. As you're not in your office right now, you want to make sure that all of this stuff is getting documented and you know clearly what the next step is going to be. And then finally, optional step, submit to insurance. We'll get to the insurance part of this later. Okay, how to do on-demand virtual consults. I want to pause right now and say that for our platform, if you're curious, you want to know what it is, you can go to yourvirtualconsult.com, and we are giving it away right now for the next 2 months. So if you sign up today, you'll get it for 2 months. And there's a big banner at the top that will remind you of this code, but you can use the code FIGHT-COVID-19 when you sign up. And it's totally free. We do ask for a credit card, and that's only because we have not had the time to sort of rebuild our onboard process, but I promise you don't get charged. We're not trying to sell the platform right now. We're trying to get it out there and educate people so you know that you have this option. And we're also trying to help because we know there's a lot of dentists right now that are struggling with a good way to communicate with their patients. So again, go to yourvirtualconsult.com, and there's the code FIGHT-COVID-19 that you can use to get 2 months for free. So here's basically the workflow that we have. If you decide to try the platform out, you sign up and you probably take 15 minutes to fill out some basic information about the practice. And we're automatically going to build you a landing page that you can use on your website. You can link to via email, you can link to via social media, and it explains how this works for anyone that says, I have a problem. How can I talk to my dentist? Okay, here are the steps that we're going to walk through together. Same as last, you need to get the word out. Email your patients and say, we're super excited to have invested in this technology for you. We send you a whole packet of email templates, social posts, all that stuff to help you. But make sure you're emailing your patients, and also don't forget to post on social media and let people know that this is an option for them. They may not be patients of yours. How many patients right now are displaced, their dentist is fully shut down, and they have a question? You can help serve that community too. Once someone fills out a request for a consult, you get alerted via email, and then you're able to go into the platform, and we progress through a consult wizard that lets you record your consult. And as part of that, again, we include a treatment plan, before and afters, an actual video consult that gets sent back, and all packaged up into a micro website for the patient. So like I was saying, step 5, we basically do all the work. The software packages everything up, and it creates a micro website. It automates the emails to the patient so that and all these emails are personalized with your direct next steps. And then you have a platform to keep track of everything. So you know what patients you've talked to, and you know what the next steps were that you have for them. Finally, submit to insurance. That's optional, and we'll talk about that after. So for those of you that are like, okay, this sounds cool, I'm trying to visualize it, I'm not sure I totally understand it, I'm going to do just a very brief walkthrough of what our software looks like so you can see if this is something that fits your workflow. So first of all, you have to sign in. This is what our dashboard looks like when you first come into it. And the middle part right there is where leads will show up once you get them. But what you're going to do is you're going to navigate to the left-hand side where it says business. And this will basically be where you fill out some basic information. So really simple stuff: business name, phone number, description of the business, logo. Again, in about 15 minutes, you can fill this all out, and you can add some casework so you can show off a little bit. Again, more on the cosmetic side, less on the emergency side. And then we put together this awesome landing page for you. So if you don't feel like your website is one that's easy to update, you don't have a good relationship with a webmaster or a marketing agency that you can quickly update stuff on your existing website, we solve that problem. You've got a microsite you can use to help people understand how virtual consults work. And then if someone were to say, I want to do a virtual consult, they would click get started. We progress them through a series of questions. And one thing that we're super excited about is we've just updated this process so that it has kind of a logic tree. You can start and say, do I want to do a cosmetic consult or an emergency consult? And from there, we ask unique questions based on what the person answers. So if they said, you know what, I'm having trouble with tooth pain, there's a separate set of questions that they get asked as opposed to them having problems with an ortho appliance. And so we really collect a lot of good information. Little industry tip that we have, all the questions we ask people to click the answer. So they're not typing. It makes the form go faster and we get a lot more information. So we're able to give you a pretty good idea of what's going on. Also ask them to take photos of their smile. Another thing that's been updated since we looked at this, we're including more photos, different photos of the smile. So we're not just doing these sort of 2 more standard photos. There's additional views that have now been added as well. So once someone fills out that form, you get sent an email that looks a lot like this. It says you've received a lead, a case, talks about what's next. You can see the photos that were submitted. And then once you're ready, you can click review the case and you go into our platform. So now this is what the platform looks like when you've gotten multiple people that have said, hey, I need some help here. And you're able to go into each case individually and review information. So you can see the information they submitted, the photos, and you can actually go in a little closer. Again, this is photo from me. So I've got this little tooth here that's ranging out. If anyone wants to help me with Invisalign, let me know. Definitely need a little straightening there. And once you're ready, once you review the case, we go through our wizard. So we let you select casework that's relevant, if there is casework that you want to show. We let you go through some treatment recommendations, and then we walk through an actual webcam recording. And you can re-record this. If you start talking, you don't like what you're saying, you can re-record it. We actually let the webcam kind of pop up in browser on Chrome. And then if you want to use another platform, you can use video upload, or you can do that through your phone. And then ultimately an email gets sent out. So this is just reviewing the email before you send it. And you're able to select a next step. You can say what specific next step you want to recommend for that patient. One of those next steps can be a video consult. So what I love about this is if you're like, you know what, I really want to use Zoom, this platform lets you come up with a workflow that does all the stuff that Zoom doesn't. Collect people's information, have that initial first, conversation, and then you can put a Zoom link in and say, next step, video virtual consult. And so it integrates seamlessly with any video platform. And then this is an example of the page that gets packaged up for the patient. So, kind of a cool experience. Someone reaches out to you and then you send a little micro website back to them and says, hey, not only is there a video, but I'm going to show you example casework. I'm going to talk about what my recommendations are, all right there in one spot, and it's done for you. So it's just automated. Okay. So hopefully you guys have 2 different workflows that you can kind of adjust, adapt to do different virtual consults. I want to talk about how to promote them, because this is the thing that I think a lot of dentists are really struggling with right now. Everyone says, yeah, I'd love to do teledentistry. How do I let people know? First things first, email is so powerful. It's far from dead. It's a great way to communicate with your patients. And if you don't have an active email base right now, if you're not collecting emails from patients, you need to be doing this. Hopefully a wake-up call to start taking that more seriously. But emails that come directly from you. So if you write a personal email, do really, really well. And I think that one thing that you want to do, first of all, is announce this to your patient base. Say, we have invested in technology to help you. Again, virtual consult has some scripts for you if you are not, as good at writing those emails that you can use, but make it something that's personal. You also want to use your website, right? Your website is your home base. For a lot of you, you're getting 500 to 1,000 sessions or reviews to your website every single month. People are doing research and they're checking you out. Don't forget about your website. It's your virtual calling card, your virtual home base. Make sure you add information to your website. So what should you add to your website? Well, here's an example of one of our clients. And again, hopefully we can make this presentation available to you guys after, so you can actually click on some of these links and you can see examples. But there's kind of 3 different areas that I think you can add information on your website. The first is just a button, right? So put a button up in the header, in the menu, or right in that sort of first big banner that you have on your website that says, get a virtual consult, right? So that's simple. You can just add a button. Add an alert bar. So you can see on this site, we've got an alert bar at the top that basically notifies people that the practice is opened for emergencies, which is different than closed but open, right? They're open for emergencies. And the last one, which I like the best, we've got this section, this info section that's been added, and it explains on the site itself in 3 easy steps: send a photo, write a message, get a video, and then it gives people a next step. It says, let's get started. If you really want to do virtual consults, you need to have an info section on the homepage of your website to let people know this is something. What about social media? We all know social media is a place that we spend more time, patients spend more time. How do we use it? The first thing I want to do is encourage you all to be authentic. Stop using stock images. Don't use memes. It's not something people are going to relate to. They relate to you. Position yourself as a leader in the community. We know that 20 years ago, everybody was just newspaper, right? Now everyone's on their phone. Let's reach people where they're at. Another pro tip: don't forget about boosting posts. I know a lot of you are saying, how do I keep my costs low? $100 will go a long way. $50 will go a long way. So if you have a post that you want to get out there and say, we do virtual consults, I want to let other people besides my patients know, put $50 into a post and put it out there. I think you'll be amazed at how many people will find that helpful. They'll remember it and they're going to use that. If it's something that, they have a question about, they're going to use that as a next step to talk to you. Video. We've already talked about the importance of video. If you're going to do a post, I think using video is a great way to introduce it. This is Dr. Brian Packard. This guy cranks out amazing videos. If you want good examples of how to do this, go to Precision Dental Bowling Green. But he talked about, what's going on with his practice and how virtual consults can help serve his patients in his community. And he's, he's just getting a great response from people that trust that he can communicate with them in a personal way. They get to know him in a personal way. So don't forget about social videos. Classic posts, you can post something again, make sure that you do it with authentic content, photo of the practice. You want to make sure that it's not stock imagery. And if you guys have not heard about Canva before, Canva is such a great tool. This is a tool that most marketing agencies don't want you to know about. It's going to turn you guys into graphic designers overnight. It's unbelievable. It's got pre-made templates. It's a free tool. You're able to go in and you can make amazing social media posts, office signs, all sorts of cool stuff. Check Canva out. It's a great way for you to get going on doing some good social media posts right now. Okay, last thing, don't forget about stories. 45% of Instagram ad revenue comes from stories. So, more and more people are going on Instagram and they're kind of watching this almost local TV feed of what their friends and family are doing. That's a great place for you to jump in and say, hey, I want to introduce myself. This is how I can help you out. So make sure to include stories as part of your strategy to get the word out. Okay. So our last section here, and then hopefully we'll have a little time for questions. What's going on with regulations and insurance? So cosmetic consults. Remember, there's kind of these different consults we're talking about: triage, emergency, and cosmetic. For cosmetic consults, you can choose to bill patients. It's something that you can submit. You can directly bill them. But what we recommend, most of our dentists have some kind of a complimentary free consultation. That may not apply to you, but most of our dentists do. We would recommend that for cosmetic consults, you put it forward as a free consultation. And again, if you want to bill someone directly, just make sure that's clear to them. But I think free consultations are probably the best way to go for cosmetic consults. So what about virtual consults? Are they covered by insurance? And the short answer is yes, they are. There are some specific medical codes that we can use to bill for insurance. So I want to talk about those. Again, I want to be very clear. I do not put myself forward as a insurance expert. There's plenty of those people out there. But I do feel confident with what the ADA has put forward that we do understand how we can bill for teledentistry. And so we're going to talk about that. Okay, so there's some specific codes that are treatment-focused codes that you can use, and you have to use them in combination with a teledentistry code. So the first code we're going to look at here is just a limited oral evaluation, and it's problem-focused. So someone that might say, I cracked a tooth, can you look at it? You do a limited oral evaluation that's problem-focused. The code for that is D0140. That's your limited oral evaluation. And these are not new codes, guys. These codes have existed for quite a while. So this is all stuff that's been around. Okay, the other one is going to be a reevaluation, right? So it's limited problem focused. It's something that you have already been watching, you're aware of. This could be a traumatic injury. It could be an evaluation for an undiagnosed continuing pain. So someone said, hey, I've got pain. You weren't able to identify it. You're reevaluating it. Or some kind of a soft tissue lesion that requires sort of a follow-up evaluation. That's going to be a D0170 reevaluation. That's a limited problem focused evaluation. And then the other one is just sort of your post-operative reevaluation. You know, you did some kind of operation, you need to check back. That's D0171. And then finally, we've got our sort of co-care dental case management. If you're working with another dentist, another medical professional on a case, D9992 is going to be your co-care, coordinated care code if you're working with another medical professional. So here's the key thing. All of those codes are obviously the treatment-focused codes. You have to pair them with and submit them with one of these two codes. If you do a synchronous, live, real-time video with Zoom, VC, Doxy, anything like that, it's going to be D9995. Did I get all the nines in there? I think so. D9995. If you use a platform more like our platform, your virtual consult, it's asynchronous. They both can be submitted, and it's going to be D9996. One other thing that I think we've really started to plan for, we expect that these codes will exist for a while because we know insurance companies and dentists are going to have to deal with a changing world where we still have patients who could have COVID-19, and we have to insist that they follow new protocols to make sure the office is safe. I think insurance companies are increasingly going to ask for more proof of a consult. They're going to want to have stuff packaged up. They're going to want to make sure information is accessible to them so they can review it. And that's where asynchronous models, I think, will shine because we're going to have a lot of information to submit to insurance companies to ensure that claim gets processed. Okay, so I know I started by talking a bit about the gift that my wife and I have been given by having extended time at home with our son Wilder, and I hope you'll all indulge me as I close here in bragging as a new father. This is Wilder. He's 3 months old. It's been, it's been a gift in so many ways for us because we have been able to, in hard days and hard moments, refocus on what matters for us. And I know as a new dad how much I want to give to him, how much I want to show him and support him and invest in his wonderful life. The thing that I would encourage all of you to do is to, remember our businesses are like our babies. I know that Wonderist Agency is like a baby to Laura and I, and we've given so much time into that. Let's come back to that sort of initial point we started with. How can you make your business better? How can you make it thrive and survive in a way that's even greater than it was before? And so I wanted to share this with you because it's been a great source of happiness for us. And I know a lot of you have families you're spending more time with. There are many good things to come from the hardship we're going through right now. Hopefully one of them is you changing your practice and evolving it a little bit more. To that end, one final reminder, one final ask. If you guys are interested in doing teledentistry, doing virtual consults, you can use our platform, yourvirtualconsult.com, and use the code FIGHTCOVID19 when you sign up. And again, we're giving it to you guys absolutely free. There's no cost, no startup fee, nothing like that at all. And you will be notified as your trial is ending. So I promise we're not trying to sneak a charge in there at the end. But yeah, hopefully this has been informative, and I've not gotten a chance to keep my eye on the chat. So if there are questions, Jonathan, I'm going to let you kind of guide me through that.
Yeah, Michael, awesome. So please leave your slide up with your contact information as we go through the Q&A. This is a great way to get a hold of you. Also, if you have a slide that shows your email address, we can put that up in a few minutes. But a lot of good questions, so I'm going to go ahead and throw a few of those at you. And if you don't have the answer to it, Michael, we have an attorney that's going to come on Thursday and give us a legal perspective. And again, I want to invite you to join us for that.
Great.
But definitely a great presentation, and I'm super, super excited about what we've seen here. Zoom has security issues lately. Do you think that these will present an issue moving forward with Zoom as a dentist? And I would ask the question, is your platform through Zoom or is your platform through your own proprietary FaceTime mechanism?
Yeah. So our platform not being live, we're not using Zoom or FaceTime or anything like that. It is proprietary. We've got a development team in-house that's built it out for the last 2 years. So we're not depending on any other technology. It's all in-house. Zoom specifically, it's so funny in many senses. I love the expression, no good deed goes unpunished. Zoom certainly was a company that I think stepped up early and said, we're here to help. I think we certainly should have high expectations of all the technology leaders, and I certainly don't want to let them off the hook. But I think the other thing that I've come to terms with is technology is constantly being challenged and flexing and growing. And I don't think Zoom is alone in having those vulnerabilities. And so, the other thing too is they have a separate upgrade that is HIPAA compliant, and that does add an additional layer of compliance and complexity to the data that is being accessed. I'm not an expert on their platform, so I cannot say that if you upgrade to the HIPAA compliant part of their platform, that solves the vulnerability that was exposed. And ultimately, I think that's why it's important that you find a platform that you do feel is the right fit for you. I tend to be of the mindset that if a company like Zoom that is private equity backed and has, millions of dollars being poured into it cannot solve that security flaw, some of the much smaller dental specific video platforms are not in a stronger position. That's my personal opinion. And you could certainly come back and say the same thing about us. But I think that that's where you've got to find that nice middle ground where you say, I want to use a platform that works well for me, while still, hopefully having a team that cares and works hard to maintain security. So that might be a unsatisfactory answer, but I would feel comfortable using Zoom as a way to communicate with patients, as I would with many other video platforms right now.
Perfect. Yeah, I appreciate that. So Zoom, so if they wanted to do this in the absence of the platform, you're saying Zoom is a less stable version of what you're offering with your platform we have here with your virtualconsult.com.
It's and I don't even know if I'd go that far. It's just different. It's two different philosophies, right? Zoom is going to be a philosophy that says, I want to just find a way to get on video with the patient, ask them questions. I'll have to take notes on those questions. I'm going to make sure I come up with a process ahead of time. And our platform is saying, listen, we're not going to do that live communication as our first step. We're going to have them go through sort of a whole funnel of questions that, we've worked with dentists to come up with, that lets you get a lot of information up front, and then you can respond separately. And so they're two different philosophies. I wouldn't say that, we're just a more stable version of Zoom. Respect Zoom as a company, and certainly they have a lot of private equity money going into it. We have a different philosophy than Zoom. And I think, especially when dentists are back to work, I know most of our dentists are not going to want to say, you know what, I'll give up 30 minutes of my chair time to hope someone shows up on a Zoom chat. I think most people are going to say, listen, if I could get queued up with, people that have questions, and I can find time in my day, whether it's my lunch hour, whether it's the morning, whether it's personal time that, I'm going to dedicate 30 minutes at the end of the day, that's the right way that I want to respond. And that's the feedback we've gotten from a lot of dentists. They've said, I'd prefer to have some asynchronous way to do this so I control my schedule and I don't give up more chair time.
Awesome. So Michael, we have about 14 questions and we have about 12 minutes. We can go a little long if we need to. So, one thing with this, I want to let everyone know that if you have additional questions, Michael's going to be available to you guys to reach out to him personally, or you can email me the question and I can relay it. So Michael, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and ask a few more. Are you using billing codes D9995 and D9996? I think you covered that, but go ahead real quick again.
Oh man, I just skipped all the way through this. Let me just go back. Did I stop presenting?
You stopped sharing your screen.
Let me go back.
Me. Well, we could do Q&A as you bring up your contact information. Or there we go.
Yeah, I just was gonna go here. Let me go all the way forward to the different codes that we had. So, sorry, give me those codes one more time.
It's D395 and D with 396.
So here we go. Yeah, exactly. So they nailed it. It's D395. That's the live synchronous, and then the D396 is going to be the asynchronous. So just to be very clear, you need to combine that code with a actual clinical code. If you just submit this code, you're not going to get the claim processed.
Awesome. A question comes in: do you do websites on WordPress or third-party software?
Okay, good question. So unrelated to, so you're saying maybe the question is with our platform. So no, the way that we build the microsite, I believe this is the way the question is being asked, is that it's through our proprietary platform. So we're not spinning it up on WordPress. I want to be very clear. The website that we're building is not meant to replace your practice website. This is basically meant to help support people in any capacity that they're coming to us in. If they have a great website, the site that we build, just link to it from your website so people can have some additional information. If you don't have a good website, then you're able to use this again to communicate virtual consults. So it's just a proprietary platform. I'll editorialize briefly and say that when it comes to the marketing side of things, I really prefer using a platform that you all can have ownership with. We built on WordPress for years, and we now use a platform called Webflow. I'm not going to go into that in a lot of detail, but I'll suffice to say that WordPress is a lot like PCs, where everybody can build stuff for it. There's a lot of plugins. Anyone that knows about WordPress here knows the word plugin. They break down. You're constantly trying to chase your tail and stuff's breaking. Webflow is kind of like Mac. It just works. We build beautiful sites with it. So I know that's a separate question. I'm not entirely sure what the original intent was, but for Virtual Consult, it's a separate microsite that's built through our platform that is proprietary, not meant to replace your website.
Perfect. Question for orthodontic consults, and I would ask how this is applicable to all specialties, if you could cover that as well. The question is for orthodontic consults, do you still recommend billing limited intraoral exams? So do we have billing codes for that, or just the virtual consult?
Yeah, and one thing I can follow up with is there's a insurance specialist that, I actually just talked to yesterday, and she's been really instrumental. Her name is Santouche. Some of you may know who she is. And she really has helped give us some information. And so I can follow up with her information specifically to some of these specialties. One other thing that she's been talking about is it's not even limited to dental codes. You can also submit medical codes as well, right? That's something a lot of dentists forget about. I know that the intake of that information is different. I realize a lot of you are saying, oh my gosh, how are we supposed to get that additional information to submit? That's a separate topic, separate conversation. But the codes I'm putting forward are the codes that I think we've seen the most success with as far as submitting. So I would encourage our specialists to try to use those codes as they're billing. One other thing I'll say is interesting is we've seen a lot of feedback from our pediatric dentists that virtual consult is something that they expect their parents to be using more and more as well. And so I think this is not just for general dentists, not just for cosmetic dentists. In fact, one of the pro users, someone who's been with us for a little while that's used this the best is Dr. Altimos, who is an orthodontist, and she's really just nailed how to use this for her orthodontic patients, and a great model if you want to look her up, Dr. Altimos. I think it's Mansfield Orthodontics. She's really done a fantastic job of being able to use this virtual consult platform for her patients.
Awesome, Michael. Yeah, possibly if Santouche is available, we can bring her on with you for just a straight virtual dentistry Q&A session. We've got quite a few questions piling up here. So what's the company name again to help us become computer graphics whizzes?
Oh yeah, Canva. Listen, guys, I mean, I know we're talking about virtual consults today, but like if you take one thing away, like Canva, it's such a cool tool. Like type it in right now. Like first of all, type in yourvirtualconsult.com, open a new tab, type in canva.com. Canva.com is so cool. It's like Photoshop with mega training wheels, but you still produce amazing quality results. So what happens is you're going to see it pop up and there's a search bar. In the search bar, you can search for what you want to make. Logo, Facebook ad, Facebook post, Facebook banner, whatever that is for you. They do like, you could do a menu, right? If you want to have a fancy dinner at your house, put menu in. And it gives you pre-made templates that you can then customize the color. You can delete elements you want, pull new elements in, change the font, put your logo in. It's awesome. I cannot recommend Canva enough. Really, really great tool.
Awesome. Questions. Love free consultations. I'm a little nervous to charge patients as we've been pretty much allowing free virtual consults for years. How do we transition this? And new patients or existing patients just do the first one free or on a case-by-case basis?
I think, again, just like the way that you practice dentistry, people come to you for different things. So I imagine most people say, listen, if it's a new patient coming in, or maybe even an existing patient, I know that the casework is going to be $10,000, $5,000. I'm willing to sit down and give them 30 minutes of my time and help educate them. so that they feel comfortable making that step with me. I think most practitioners, most business owners, you can look at it from every angle, right? You could say it's a business decision. You could say it's a clinical decision. They're willing to give that. The flip side of that is, in a moment like right now, you know what? And I'll give Santush credit for this. She said, if you're wondering if you should bill, ask yourself if you would normally bill in your office. That's the best way to do it, right? If you would say, listen, if here's a good example. You have an operation that you do, treatment you do, and you say you got to come back for post-operative evaluation. Would you bill for that or would you not? If you would bill for that, then you can bill for it on a virtual consult. If you would not normally bill for that, then you probably shouldn't bill for it on a virtual consult. That's probably the best guidance, even though it's simple, that I could give. The other thing that I do want to be very clear about, if we go to 10 weeks ago, before we were talking about all this, virtual consults at its core, I think when we're back to work, it's a lead generating platform, right? And I'm a marketer, so you shouldn't be surprised at me saying this. It's a way to start a conversation earlier with a new patient. And that's where, for me, you do not bill for that. But what we have now been challenged to do is we all, I think, are realizing our society is going to change. And that means that we are going to have to practice dentistry in a way that's a little bit different and more virtual, I believe. And that means that you're not going to just say, well, let's just give away more of my business. You're going to say, wait a second, I used to bill for that in office. I think I need to bill for that virtually too. And so there should be a difference between the lead generating cosmetic side and the practice clinical side.
Awesome. There's a lot of really nice comments about your daughter being up here. And I guess I missed it, but your son, you're expecting a daughter in 9 months.
Oh, I hope not. That someone knows my wife better than I do. Then, yeah, no, we're very happy.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we're very, very happy with one little guy right now. Would love to grow our family, but man, I wonder if my wife's on here letting me know. But yeah, we're not expecting a daughter yet, so we'll hope for later.
So the comment verbatim was, he's beautiful and will love his sister in about 9 months from now. So
okay.
Someone must know something we don't.
I see what they did there. We are all staying at home a little bit more, so there will probably be a baby boom, although I'm hopeful that we're not going to be part of that yet.
There we go. Do you sign a HIPAA BAA with the dental practices?
Great question. Yes, we do. One of the first, so as you sign up for the platform, one of the first things that's going to happen is a big pop-up is going to come up, and it's a BAA between our companies. And that is a great question, because I think there's a lot of people throwing around HIPAA compliance right now. If you're not signing a BAA with a company that's not HIPAA compliant, that is a absolutely essential part of HIPAA compliance. A software could be built so that it could be HIPAA compliant, but without the BAA, you do not have a HIPAA compliant relationship.
Awesome. The next question is great. What would we charge for this? Do you have a fee range? So if they're not billing through insurance, what would you charge for a virtual consult?
This is where I'm going to swim a little outside of my depth, and Santush or one of the many other, I know Jean St. Louise is on, I think she's on this. She probably would be a great person to reach out to. What I've seen is that oftentimes these limited oral exams are billing out at $50. I think I'm hearing numbers that are higher than that, but it seems like they're billing out at about $50, somewhere in that range. So, it's not extensive. We're not billing thousands of dollars, but it's something. And there is a range. I'm not the person to speak to that specifically.
Okay. And Jean, if you're here, I actually know Jean's in there somewhere. If you want to put the answer to that into the question box, I can communicate that with everyone on the phone call if you're available. Will you cover how to take needed x-rays for complex cases like implant cases? So I think there's been a couple of x-ray questions for different cases. They would have to come in the office, obviously. Is that correct, Michael?
Well, yeah. So the only thing, and this is something that one of the cool things about sort of, us evolving as a platform and being challenged to do new things is we're learning from you guys. And so we've had a lot of dentists, teach us what will improve virtual consults. I think one thing we can do on the new patient front is that we can let patients transfer x-rays through our platform, right? So we can come up with a process that lets them go to their existing dentist. Really, one of the big things that I'm excited about is this has a lot of potential for second opinions, right? How many people go to their dentist and say, I want a second opinion? And if you have a platform like this where someone can raise their hand and say, here's my x-rays, here's my case, what is your second opinion? You can do that virtually. That's pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool. Yeah, listen, we cannot support taking x-rays today. I'll dream a little bit with all of you and say that, I think that down the road, we'll be able to use this tool like you're able to use a iTero scanner, where you have a camera and you can literally, in a 3D space, move around an object and create an actual 3D scan. I believe that we're going to see technology within the next couple of years that will let us do that. It will not be the same quality, the same fidelity, but you can start to dream with me, but and say, oh, wouldn't that be cool if the prospective patient could literally scan their mouth and submit that to me? That's where this technology, I believe, will go.
No, that's awesome. I hope part of the stimulus package is that there's an iTero scanner in every single home after this is all done.
It'd be great.
So the question is the free trial with your company's platform good for 60 days from the date that a dental office signs up, or there is an end date to that offer? So how long are you can offer that? Do they have to sign up today? If they sign up in 3 weeks, is it 60 days from that date?
60 days from the date of sign up. And we'll notify people on the website. We don't know yet when we're going to pull this. I think what we're going to do is, as offices reopen, we're going to pull this offer, but I'm more than happy to extend this to people who sign up for it a week or two before they open their offices, use it to help them get back to work. Our genuine goal here is to give you guys some assistance in a time that I know everyone is struggling. And I think it's a great chance to learn a new technology and skill. And so that's our selfish desire. We want to educate you guys that virtual consults are something cool. And whether you work with us or you do it in a different way, I think we'll improve dentistry together if we do that.
Awesome. Is there a fee also attached to the D9995 code in addition to the D0170 code?
Again, I'm going to disclaim, I'm not an insurance expert. My understanding is that no, there is not a fee associated with that code. I believe it is a way to identify the procedure as a teledentistry procedure, but that does not add a fee to the original procedure that was done. That is my understanding. Someone who's who deals with insurance every day, I'm sure, can correct me on that, but that is my understanding. Don't take it as gospel.
There's a question from Santosh Ashok, and I don't know if that's your Santosh or not.
Yes.
Insurance person. So it's exactly. It's more of an answer than a question. So what she says is D9995 and D9996 can be billed at about $70. Since the trend is just setting off, dentists have the power to set the base fee. The fees that we charge now are going to be setting the base fee in the next ADA UCR fee survey. So I recommend $70. Moreover, teledentistry is not a money-making tool. It's a tool to keep your business going and get high production cases booked when your offices reopen.
Yeah, guys, I mean, honestly, I had a call with her yesterday and she's been teaching me so much. Like, I don't know if she can drop her email. I don't want to put her on the spot, but like drop her email or something in the chat. She's been helping us out to understand this. I cannot recommend enough that if anyone either has questions about insurance in general, or certainly from a teledentistry standpoint, she's the one that's really helping us move forward right now. So if you have questions, absolutely reach out to her. I cannot recommend that enough.
Santosh, if you want to reach out to me, I don't know if you have my email or Michael can share it with you. I would love to bring you on Thursday as a panelist when we have the attorney on. And Michael, I'd even invite you back to come on with Justin Morgan is an attorney with Wood Delgado, the dental attorneys. Jason Wood and Pat Wood have been around for a long time. Justin Morgan's a great new young attorney with them, and he's been doing a ton of due diligence on teledentistry and virtual dentistry. So we're going to have him on Thursday, and I would love to invite Santosh to join us. And Michael, if you have the time to come back, we can definitely do that. I think we have time for a couple more questions, and then we can go ahead and wrap it up. If you had an existing microsite through another platform, will it be possible to add another microsite for the virtual dentistry being offered? Is there any way to simplify this?
Yeah. So, the cool thing is, at its core, websites are pretty simple, right? You have content and you have links to other sites. And hopefully, if you have a good relationship with the company that maintains your website, you can link out to different things. Here's one example. If you guys use LocalMed, another company that I recommend, obviously when practices are open, they have a microsite that they link out to, right? So what that means is if you want somebody to be able to schedule 24/7, they click on a link and it goes to a website on LocalMed, right? That's how that would work. If you want to show off your Google reviews, you have a link on your website, they click that, it takes them to your Google My Business page. This is the exact same thing. It's basically saying, listen, if you want to do virtual consults, you can click on this link and you can go to a little micro website. And I guess the thing I need to know more about is if you have multiple microsites, what is the purpose of them? What I would do is I would say, what's your home base? What's the website URL that in your Google My Business, that's the website that your business is linked to. That's the microsite that you should be putting virtual consult on and linking out to, unless you're doing more advanced marketing and you've got landing pages that you're having ads go to, and then put it there too. It's not going to affect anything. It's not going to mess your SEO up. It's really just a way to get people onboarded into our platform. So yes, you should absolutely be able to link one microsite to another site. And keep in mind, microsite's kind of a buzzword. I know I'm using it. Landing pages, microsites, really the same thing, just a small website.
Awesome. How do you deal with the liability? What do you see as potential risks?
Well, and this is one of the things, again, I selfishly like about our platform is we ask when patients or new patients are submitting information to the platform, there are terms of service that they click a button and they say, I understand these things. So there's kind of a, excuse my French, but a little cover your ass policy there. If you're coming up with your own little system, you're going to use Zoom or VC or something like that, you've got to figure out how to manage that. So our platform does have terms built into it that, really, really specifically says, listen, anything that, is done virtually, like, the best visit is in office. You basically, any decisions you make based on this are at your own risk. So we do make sure that we have patients sign that. But yeah, I think as we talked about to begin with, there's so much technology that all businesses and certainly dentists have the ability to use responsibly and irresponsibly. This technology needs to be used responsibly. And I think the best way to think about it is use it the way that you would use it, that you would normally interact with patients in the office, because there's liability there too, right? There's liability in your office just as much as there is liability in doing a virtual consult. Exercise the same judgment and proceed in the exact same manner that you would as much as you can.
Perfect. So I think we got through most of the questions. It's a little after 12 noon Pacific Standard Time right now. Michael, I can't thank you enough. I do see your contact information here on the screen. I don't know if there's a phone number for the agency or the email's the best way to do it. People have pen and paper. Michael, you can verbally give out the phone number if you want. Yeah,
so if you guys are interested in contacting the agency, hopefully you guys can still see my screen here. Go to our website, wonderistagency.com. You'll get a little bit of a preview for what our company is like. You can call us at 619-419-0831, and we do have a front desk that is still taking calls. And then you can also just schedule a marketing meeting with someone on our team by clicking on this button here. And it's just going to let you look at our schedule and find a time that works for you to schedule time to jump on the phone if you have other marketing questions. And then just a final reminder that if you guys are interested in your virtual consult, you can go to yourvirtualconsult.com. That code Fight COVID-19 is in the banner right here. And then if you guys want to set things up, just click this green button here. And really in about 3 minutes or less, you're going to be set up. It'll take a couple minutes for the back end to build everything out for you. And then you can really get going on setting up virtual consult for your practice.
Excellent. Michael, we had close to 150, 170, actually not close to 200 doctors on the line today. On behalf of all 200 doctors, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to share this with us. Again, we're going to have a meeting on Thursday, and we're going to talk about kind of more of the legal side. And I did get Santosh's information, so hopefully we can bring her on to talk more about the insurance and the billing side of virtual dentistry. With that being said, I appreciate everyone for attending. If you have any friends that would like to partake in this, definitely add them or send them the contact information they can register for these free webinars. I hope the content was helpful. I hope it added some value during this downtime. And with that being said, I want to go ahead and close out and hope everyone's safe. Hope their family's safe and staying healthy. and we'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, thanks for having me.